The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of Well-Being with Ceejay Horrell. These perspectives are respectfully held and are shared for information and reflective purposes only. They're not intended as a substitute for professional care, nor should they be used in place of advice from your clinician, therapist, or health provider who understands the specific details of your personal situation. As for my own contributions, what I share reflects the most truthful viewpoint I can offer at the time of this recording. As the Holy Spirit continues to reveal deeper understanding, I reserve the freedom to revise, expand, or even contradict previous perspectives because growth is part of the journey.
Welcome to Well-Being with Ceejay Horrell. Candid conversations about life, health, and faith that encourage us to pursue our best selves. Here's Ceejay.
There are moments in a man's life when the ground shifts, when crisis, separation, or divorce shakes not just a relationship, but an identity, a routine, even a sense of purpose. For many men, the instinct is to stay silent, to hold the pain in, to soldier on, or to hide the tears behind a calm face. But inside, it's a different story. Loneliness, sleepless nights, depression, anxiety, weight changes, and a deep ache for children and connection. Add to that the judgment, blame, and isolation that sometimes comes from others, and the journey toward healing can feel like a suffocating maze. But it doesn't have to stay that way. There are voices like today's guest who bring clarity, compassion, and a concrete help into that darkness. I'm joined by Bijan Rafii, Executive Director of the Canadian Centre for Men and Families in York Region, an organization dedicated to crisis intervention, suicide prevention, and empowering fathers to stay connected, healthy, and hopeful through some of life's toughest seasons. Together, we're going to talk about what really happens to men in crisis and what can be done to help, and how there is a way forward, a way through. If you're a man walking through separation, divorce, or deep personal crisis, or you love someone who is, this conversation is for you. In today's episode, When the Storm Hits, Healing and Hope for Men in Crisis. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. This is Well-Being with Ceejay Horrell, and I'm really excited today because I have a very special guest with me, Bijan Rafii. He is, as I said at the top, the Executive Director of the Canadian Centre for Men and Families in York Region. And having him on the podcast is special for me today because I am a man who's gone through separation and divorce. And I tell you, it was so tough, especially waking up and not being able to actually go into my boys' room and at will and give them a hug because I'm living in a separate space for the first time. Bijan, welcome to the podcast. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you, CJ, for inviting me here today. I'm
And
very excited to talk about this topic.
awesome, and thank you again. Many men describe the aftermath of crisis, separation, or divorce as disorienting, like losing not only a relationship but their identity, their routine and social anchor. From your experience at CCMF, how accurate is that picture, and what's often misunderstood about men in these moments?
So, separation is very difficult for everybody. So, when they're going through divorce,
Mhm.
for men in particular, it's very difficult because uh, in the past, men were not really interacting with children as much. Right
Mhm.
now, though, they are very much part of the children's lives.
Mhm.
So obviously, separation is sort of a You go through grief because you're losing that relationship with a partner. You are losing, you're at a very, especially for men, at a very high risk of losing a relationship with the children, just
Mm,
because the way family courts are all set up, and they favor the mother when it comes to custody. So that really limits the time fathers spend with their children. So just to give you an idea how tough it is for people going to separation in general, there was a study done in 2019 and found divorce is a second most significant non-medical risk factor for mortality.
mm,
So the very first and most significant risk factor for mortality is smoking. After smoking is divorce. If somebody's going through divorce, that can have a predictor, how they can fall into, disease and basically as a risk factor for mortality. And then comes alcohol. For
mhm.
men, particularly is a problem because although suicide rate for men is in general higher than women, 3 to 1, if a man is going through divorce, his risk of suicide is 8 times that of women
Wow.
who are going through divorce. So it has a much more significant impact on men.
Wow.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. And society often expects men to stay strong or, suppress their emotions. How does that cultural script show up in men who come to you for help? And how does CCMF help them rewrite that way of thinking, that narrative?
So be honest with you, that's what I used to think as well regarding how men have difficulty expressing emotions and feeling vulnerable. And to some degree, that is still true. However, what our experience has been is that when men are offered a safe space to express themselves, they are very comfortable
Mm-hmm.
expressing the emotions. And so I think the limitation is offering men the right space
Mm-hmm.
and time and have somebody to listen to them to be able to express themselves. Now, at CCMF, interestingly, when I founded this particular branch, my focus was general mental health, but we're finding that the vast majority of men who are coming to us are either going through separation or are victims of intimate partner violence. And for men, intimate partner violence has a it has different typologies
Mm-hmm.
than women do on average.
Mm-hmm. Could you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, so there are a number of ways that intimate partner violence manifests itself. We are all familiar with physical forms of intimate partner violence.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also, as you're aware, emotional abuse is a huge part.
Yes.
More recently, coercive control is understood to be a form of intimate partner violence. Sexual violence, a partner forcing themselves on the other partner, is known. But there
Mm-hmm.
are two other types of intimate partner violence that people are less aware of. One is what's called parental alienation,
Mm-hmm.
where if one partner tries to hurt the relationship between that partner and their children. And the second one, which we at CCMF get a lot of people complaining is or coming to us for, is called false allegations.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially in a sort of a context of a child custody, if the mother, for example, accuses the father of abusing the child,
Mm-hmm.
automatically his visits with the children is stopped until this is investigated. It takes a very long time for this investigation to happen. And then at the end of the period, even if he's exonerated, in most cases they are,
Mm-hmm.
it's already, the child has been only with the mother, and then the lawyer can say, oh, the child already been settled here in the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
uh, the mother should get the custody, and then that it goes. Now, to be fair, it's not only mothers who falsely accuse.
Mm-hmm.
Fathers sometimes do it as well. However, the court system handles those accusations differently depending on whether the accuser is a mother or the father. Uh, in US, there was a YouGov a survey done and found that 11% of men and 6% of women were victims of intimate partner violence in the form of false allegations, and whereas 6% of women were accused. In Canada, last year, we conducted a national survey using Nanos poll and with a survey designed by two academics, Drs. Hines and Lysova, and found 11% of Canadians knew a man who was falsely accused of hurting her partner, and 9% knew of a man who was falsely accused of hurting his child.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in opposite and to, or in contrast to, 1% of Canadians knew a mother who was falsely accused of abusing his partner, and another 1% who was falsely accused of abusing her children. So men uniquely are vulnerable for this type of intimate partner violence of false allegations, and it has a huge impact on children.
Yeah. Now, before I move on from this, you mentioned suicide. For individuals that are probably, still wondering, well, okay, what are some of the other effects emotionally that this can have on a man? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Enormous, enormous. So and you actually, you had asked me to talk about how at CCMF we support these men. I'll answer that later as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are physically hurt, you can ease, obviously it's difficult. I'm not trying to minimize it. You can recover from a physical form of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you are falsely accused,
Mm-hmm.
it has long-term consequences. That could be, if it's of a sexual nature, it will remain on your record. Even if you exonerate it, it will remain on your record. So it
Mm-hmm.
will show up. It will show up on police background checks. So it will uh, impact your career going forward. It
Yes.
has enormous psychological effect because it's a criminal offense. So you're accused of a criminal offense. The whole process of going through the courts, being accused of this, and the expenses, huge financial expenses, it basically destroys the person. And I can't be honest with you, um, be able to tell you anything, any other form of abuse that can be as devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about intimate partner violence being an epidemic, right? My opinion, the epidemic really is false allegation, just because the huge number of the huge prevalence of this form of abuse. Now, Statistics Canada takes does in fact keep track of other forms of abuse, but it does not have any information on and surveys on false allegations. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't show up on national surveys, and so there is less awareness. Now, at it does, just to answer your question, going back, it does lead to suicide ideations. Certain of it will be a risk factor for actual attempting and succeeding in suicide. At CCMF, we have support groups for men who have been falsely accused. And we have other mental health programs such as one-on-one counseling, group support, etc. Legal counseling. We have some legal connects, and we try to support our clients this way. But the fact is, the amount of support and funding available is non-existent
Mm-hmm.
for this type of abuse.
Hmm. What warning signs should families, friends, and even men themselves be watching for during a crisis phase?
Do you mean the victim,
Yes,
or those who are
both,
supporting?
both the victim and families, friends who are trying to support, or maybe, wondering, hey, something's off, and what should they be looking for?
So it is very difficult, to um, to come up with a way to detect that in a person. So people, go through all sorts of things. And people don't always, especially men, are not very comfortable in sharing what they're going through. They don't want to bother anybody. They don't want to appear that they are not in control of the situation. And very honestly, society in general is very uncomfortable for men who they vet about their situation, or talk about their challenges. We want men to be strong, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole narrative that a man can complain is very uncomfortable. Yes, you can complain 5 minutes, and you got 5 minutes. So I would say anytime, the families need to be in tune with with the members of their family. If a male member is going through divorce, have speak to them, always keep that conversation going. How is it going? And when create opportunities so these men can share
Mm-hmm.
uh, share what they are going through.
Mm-hmm.
For the male victims, it's every situation is very different. Obviously, it is very difficult to predict if a partner is going to have a false allegations against them. I mean, just basically try to keep the temperature down during the conflict. Be very careful not to escalate. Stay calm, and the less. um, a conflict separation is escalated, it reduces the risk of false allegations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in general, from the beginning, if um, men uh, uh, develop very strong relationships with their children, and they are very careful not to escalate conflicts. It also reduces the risk of false allegations. The same thing actually with parental alienation, where a parent can be alienated from the child, and the child can be basically used as a weapon against that parent. Is again, if you develop a strong relationship with children from the beginning, staying calm, and be able to just articulate and calmly about allegations, and just making sure that information is accurate, and the relationship is strong between the children, that also reduces risk of being alienated from children. And one positive thing is younger children, maybe the one parents try to alienate them, but as the children grow up, they know better, and they usually go back and form the relationship again. But of course, many years are lost,
Yes.
and that will never be replaced.
Yes. And I could imagine even a man questioning his identity, you know, during that period, then feels my presence in their life is not of any value, you know. Um, how does CCMF structure crisis intervention differently for men? What works that helps, that's perhaps traditional mental health systems overlook that CCMF is doing?
So, what we try to do better,
Hmm.
you're asking. So, what I mentioned earlier when we were chatting, having safe space for men where they can come and it's welcoming and they can express themselves. I
Hmm.
think that's very important. We also have male staff and volunteers
Hmm.
who support men. If you try to go to many other agencies, they are very it's very difficult to find a male staff there. They're mostly staffed with women. That's pretty much all agencies have a very uh, sort of very very strong gender gap in terms of who's there to support the men.
Hmm.
So I think having men talking to other men, I think that makes also a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do. So we have we have support group, which is for men, and the facilitators are men, and that helps. We have psychotherapists, male psychotherapists, and
Hmm.
female psychotherapists, so people have an option. Sometimes they're more comfortable to be speaking to a male psychotherapist. Sometimes it doesn't matter to them, and this is the same thing for female victims, or women who are more comfortable talking to other women.
Hmm.
So we need to have both available.
Hmm. Some men jump quickly into new relationships, sometimes to escape loneliness, sometimes to re anchor their sense of purpose. How do you counsel men in making wiser, healthier choices in that vulnerable season?
So that's a really, really good question. I would say, I mean, it sounds obvious that if we choose well at the beginning, if men and women choose well at the beginning, there is and do the homework at the beginning, to just making sure, be aware of flags.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then we have less risk in the future. There is a book by Shawn, Shawn T. Smith, and I think it's called The Tactical Guide to Women. And he's got one equivalent for women, how they can look for, making sure the relationship they have is, less risk in it. And there's a bunch of things that we need to look for and do before we start a relationship. Number one is we need to take our time before we commit to a relationship fully, and especially with marriage. According to him, it's year and a half. You need about a year and a half to really get to know someone before you jump in. And and counterintuitively, he suggests that it's not a good idea to move in together until the decision to get married is done.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, once you move in and you're sharing your place, and then sharing the dog and sharing the cat and sharing the furniture, you are basically anchored to that relationship, and you may not be thinking clearly. So one thing people can do is to take their time. It takes about a year and a half to be able to get to know the other person. Another thing is they're very there are a number of flags that you have to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
And number one is, emotional maturity.
Mm-hmm.
uh, how easily that person gets triggered. And if they are getting triggered, what happens? Now, one of the big mistakes men do is that when they see a woman who's hyper expressing emotions, for them, it could be a way of being, for some men, that's attractive because that's more, youthful behavior. Men are attracted to youthful women. And that actually is a problem, because if somebody is hyper expressive and emotional all the time, or inappropriately, guess what's going to happen when you have, you're trying to handle more, difficult situation. Once you have children, there's a lot of stress coming.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't handle, if you're already seeing this type of behavior, you should not be attracted to it. That's be a warning sign
Yeah.
that, oh, you need emotional maturity. Another one is clarity, ability to communicate. If she's unhappy, is she able to express herself, what she wants, like what she wants? Is she able to express herself? Uh, um, there are the book is full of this type of flags that you need to keep an eye on. But one thing we have to be very careful, and many men fall into this, is basically us marrying a project. So
Hmm.
somebody
Yeah.
who's coming with deep trauma from childhood,
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody's already having major issues. And a lot of guys sort of says, they put their male hat on and say, hey, look, I'm here to fix you, and I'm going to take care of you and stuff. But those men will pay a heavy price.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody, a woman who, in this case, because we're talking about guys, if they have, their partner has gone through something, doesn't mean automatically you say no. Obviously, there are many situations where that could be a productive relationship after. What it's basically saying is that it's a level of it. How is she handling trauma? Is she taking control? Is she blaming others? One thing that it was in the book and really got me is that you go to a restaurant and you look at how respectful this potential partner is to the waiter. If if you have somebody who's disrespectful to others,
Hmm.
you'll be pretty sure that's what you're going to be the target of later on as well. So
Yeah.
see how that person treats others. How do they talk about their previous relationships? If every relationship they've been to has been they had a terrible partner and the partner did this and partner did that, the parent did this, the parent did that, sister did this, sister did that, friend did this, friend did that, obviously, that's a huge flag. So you have to basically keep all of this in mind. For women, they have actually similar thing. They are criteria, but they are very different, and we can talk about it another time.
What have you observed about the long term effects of helping fathers stay engaged and present with their kids even after a painful separation?
Okay, so I can't. We don't keep long-term sort of tracking what happens to the clients,
Okay.
but I have some statistics to share with you.
Hmm.
So a child who loses a father, okay, is 4 times more likely to attempt suicide.
Hmm.
He or she will have at least double the risk. It's 2 to 8 times actually. Risk of committing a crime and being incarcerated, both as a juvenile and adult, later on when they grow up.
Hmm.
It's 2 times more likely to run away from home, 3 times more likely to uh, abuse substances. If a daughter, a girl, a young girl, is doesn't have a contact with her or loses a contact with the father before the age of 5, she's 8 times more likely to become pregnant as a teenager.
Wow.
A boy who loses a father is 5 times more likely to commit rape.
Hmm.
So the impact on children is enormous when they lose a father. Now, there are cases where it is not in the best interest of the children to remain to maintain contact with the father,
Hmm.
but those are very, very few. It's a very small percentage.
Hmm.
Now, just given my own background, one paper really two papers got my attention. One was the impact of loss of a father at a cellular level.
Hmm.
Uh, at the end of our chromosomes, we have what's called telomeres, which as we get older, we get shorter and shorter and shorter. And once you get a certain length, then basically our cells don't divide and we slowly, the organs fail and we die. That's how aging happens.
Yeah.
Telomeres are also a, a strong biomarker for severe trauma. So people who have severe trauma, they have shorter telomeres.
Hmm.
We know that for a long time. Now, there was a study looked at what happens if the child loses his or her father and found their telomeres is 14% shorter than children who have a father. Interestingly, the effect was 40% more for boys than girls.
Hmm.
And another study that is really important to know is they looked at the brain development of newborns to men who experience childhood trauma, and found when men who had trauma as a child, their newborns, they had altered brain structure, and
Wow.
this brain structure alteration correlated with major emotional regulation, attention, and all those factors that makes us a successful citizen. So when
Hmm.
you look at somebody who's, have difficulty adjusting and gets into problems with the law, all those characteristics, they were impacted by those brain alteration. So when you look at the study I just told you, these two study with biological implications, and you look at the statistics I told you earlier, you have biological plausibility in terms of mechanism. So in fact, loss of a father is has enormous impact on those children. Now, one thing I didn't mention about the brain, the brain study was that the most prevalent form of childhood trauma, in fact, is loss of a father.
Hmm.
So, well, loss of a parent, and
Hmm.
that usually means loss of a father.
Yeah.
So between these two biological studies and look at the statistics, you have biological plausibility. So the impact is enormous when we are talking about loss of a father. And just imagine what society would have and how much better it would be if we had reduced all those risks of statistics I told you about.
Hmm. Oh boy, I definitely have to have you back, sir, because there's so many so many things that I would love to explore some more with your experience. Um, Now, how do we navigate the tension between acknowledging men's pain without disregarding the woman's experiences? Ensuring that the conversation stays fair, compassionate, and constructive.
I think that's a great question, CJ. I think the best way to do this is that we talk about victims as people, as humans.
Yeah.
Uh, I know the term gender violence is the term that is normally used. Um, And I understand why it's done because the narrative is that the males generally are the ones who hurt females. And there are cases. So, for example, in a situation of intimate partner homicide, there are more women killed by their male partners than the other way around. So
Hmm.
it's important to acknowledge that. But I think beyond that, we need to basically handle intimate partner violence as the victims are being people, humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Statistics Canada keeps track of intimate partner violence in the form of general social survey on victimization, which is done every 5 years. It's the authoritative uh, survey, one of the two, but the main one, in my opinion. And it found that for any Canadian, and the last one was done in 2019, the next one is 2024, but the data hasn't come out. So 2019 is the latest one we have. And what they found is that for Canadians 15 and over who have been in a relationship in the past 5 years, we have experienced 3.5% of Canadians um, experience intimate partner violence in form of physical and sexual. And the ratio between males and females was 60 to 40. 60 female, 40% male. In a previous cycle, in 2014, it was 55% male victims, 45% female victims. Now, what is I found interesting, and when you talk to men, their perception of abuse is very different. They have a much higher threshold to label a behavior from the partner abusive than women do.
Okay.
And to me, I'm pretty certain, especially when it comes to both actually both physical and emotional abuse, I suspect the rate of victimization is higher in men than the survey is capturing. Now, um, also, so basically, what I'm saying is that the prevalence is high enough and is not that different between men and women. So we need to treat it um, the male and female victim differently. We should not feel that if you talk about male victims, you somehow are minimizing the experience of female victims. And be honest with you, in a more mainstream social services sector, and I know there is some sectors that I cannot include in this, but most sectors in social services, they are aware of this and they are trying to have a more balanced view of the need to help the male victims as well as female victims.
I want to take a short break and we're going to be back. I want to focus on healing and rebuilding when we come back.
You're listening to Wellbeing with Ceejay Horrell.
Every life tells a story, but too often those stories are lost with time. The laughter, the lessons, the wisdom gone before the next generation can hear them. With Timeless Ties, we help you capture those priceless memories and preserve them forever. Through guided conversations, we turn your loved one's voice, stories, and life journey into a lasting keepsake. Whether it's a beautifully printed photo book, a heartfelt audio recording, or a documentary-styled video. This isn't just about saving stories, it's about preserving love, building connection, and passing down a legacy that time can never erase. Book your free consultation today and begin your family's journey with Timeless Ties, because memories fade, but legacies last. Timeless Ties, a gift of memory, love, and legacy. As we look at healing and rebuilding, for a man who feels like he's at rock bottom, emotionally, relationally, maybe even financially, what's the first realistic step towards healing?
I think that's a really deep question. So I would say the very first step, and I'm not saying this is easy, is that take care of yourself. That means make an effort to go to the gym in the morning. That's in terms of the best drug for mental and physical health beyond any drug out there in the market is exercise. So do the 3 times cardio, do your 2 times strength. So that's basically one way of taking care of yourself. Make sure you eat well. When we are stressed, we tend to compensate by eating palatable foods like junk food. We have to be aware of that. We need to try to make an effort to sleep well. Meditate. So when we are stressed, it becomes very difficult to focus, to stay grounded. And mindful meditation is a fantastic way of doing that. 20 minutes, basically, sit on a comfortable chair, close your eyes, and try to focus. You don't have to force your mind into anything. Just basically let your mind just stay clear, and any thoughts that comes, let it come and go. And there's lots of resources out there for how to do mindful meditation. So I would say that's another one. So um, caring for yourself, loving yourself, I would say the first step. And then once you've done that, then taking care of yourself as a consequence, and seeing that, look, um, it will pass.
Hmm.
It always does. And you want to be in your best shape coming on the other side. Because if you are going to heal financially, you need to be in the right mind. If you want to build a start new relationship, you have to be in the right mind, and you have to be healthy. And that's the way to do it. So start by taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Could you share a story, of course, with confidentiality preserved, a story that perhaps illustrates recovery and empowerment, what that looked like for someone who maybe came to CCMF feeling completely defeated?
Well, yes, we had one client that comes to mind from what you described. And there are the many, of course, but and he came in from a very, very abusive relationship, and it took an enormous toll on him. And he got help from CCMF, and slowly built, mentally, basically, he regained, his ability to be a productive, a productive citizen, develop his career, and then he started helping others at CCMF. So it was a huge turnaround. And at one point, he basically was homeless. Now he lives in a nice place and nice job and everything. We had, we have testimonials, and I don't have it handy to read it to you. I should have done that. And then we had one client who wrote to us, and he described what he was before, and basically having absolutely no hope. And that's the thing.
Hmm.
Having no hope, it just basically kills you, because like,
Yeah.
what's the point of living? And slowly recovered, and he credited the mental health support we provided. And he was talking about how he actually now has a Costco card. He's got a nice job,
Hmm.
absolutely, he healed. He was, very advanced, part of, his healing, as an advanced stage of healing. And any support from family, any support from programs that we offer, they're all additive, and can really make a big difference.
That's beautiful. What would you say to a man listening right now who's in the middle of a crisis, unsure of who to trust, maybe even wondering if life is worth living?
So it's I mean, it's hard to give one answer, because there's so many different situations. Depends
Hmm.
on what is causing his crisis, right?
Hmm.
So my answer would be to absolutely to reach out for help. They can obviously reach out to us at ccmfyork.org. There are other resources are there for mental health as well. Don't do it alone. As men, we basically saying our worth comes from the fact that we are independent, and we can handle anything. That's how we are validated.
Hmm.
That's not a good model for, I mean, it's useful, it's been useful for humanity, that has brought a lot of advantages for humanity. But situations when you are dealing with a crisis is not one of those situations when you should be handling things all by your own, on by your own.
Yeah.
You should get help. If you have a support group or support network, absolutely reach out, friends. Initially, there could be a little bit awkward conversations, but you'll be surprised that how often friends they can rally and help each other. And basically, don't go it alone.
Hmm.
Just get help, and also have hope. Sun will always come back the next day.
Hmm.
Always.
Hmm.
Just remember that. And just keep the hope up and take care of yourself. Again, take care of yourself. Self-care,
Yeah.
right? And make sure that you're strong enough to be able to come on the other side, and then you can start all over again if you need to.
As you talk about hope, um, for men who are still hesitant to reach out, maybe due to pride, maybe shame, fear, what reassurance would you give that man?
So I think what I can say is definitely trying to do everything on your own is probably not gonna take you very far. And we are humans, we are social animals. And the reason we've succeeded all this millennia is because we do things together and we getting each other's support. So absolutely, you know, reach out for help. Um, don't have a more uh, clear understanding of what masculinity is.
Hmm.
Masculinity means strong, right? But part of the strength is to um, have the sort of a right mind to say, oh yeah, this time I can do it myself. Oh, this time I need to get help.
Yeah.
Reach out to your social capital, to your friends, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. As men, we also have difficulty being vulnerable. And it is okay to, think that, oh, maybe I don't want to be vulnerable too often. That's good,
Hmm.
right? That's, if somebody who's vulnerable all the time and is pouring emotions, maybe it's not as helpful either. But there is a balance there, and there's many situations where when you're all vulnerable, you're actually doing yourself a lot good, and you are creating opportunities and opening doors for others to come in and give you a lending hand. So being vulnerable is not in opposition to being masculine, in my opinion,
Hmm.
right? And it doesn't have to be done the same way women handle vulnerability. Men have their own style of being vulnerable,
Hmm.
but absolutely vulnerability is a key to situations where you want to communicate that, hey, you know what? I need help. That realization already is a sort of forming being make yourself vulnerable to talk about it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong, because everybody has challenges. They don't always Everybody doesn't share, so we think we are the only ones. That's not true. Everybody has their own challenges, and I can tell you, I see it. I see it in our clients. I see for people that I know personally. I see it. I see it everywhere. So there is no shame if you're facing a challenge.
Yeah. You chair a very special campaign. Before we get into that, I just want to ask one more question in this segment. Looking ahead, what's your vision for men's mental health and fatherhood support in Canada? What still needs to change at the cultural or systemic level?
That's a great question. So I'm actually optimistic. Um, the awareness for men's mental health, in my opinion, is where awareness for women's, let's say, women's shelter, for example, was in 1920s. So we are way behind. We are way behind. Men's mental health until now has not been a major focus, but I'm optimistic that uh, that awareness is increasing and is increasing fast. I'm seeing it in some of the communications coming from various governments. I see it when I speak to administrators in our, in York region. I'm hearing with agencies, including agencies that predominantly they focus on women's support, that they are coming out and they are expressing that, hey, we need to help men as well. Right now, the right now the support in terms of financial support for men's mental health, specifically for mental health, is limited. We do have some focused some focused programs for youth. We have some indigenous members of the visible minority LGBTQ, but there's this other 40% that there is almost there's nothing there. So we actually run a shelter at CCMF for dads and kids who experience intimate partner violence. And we opened one in Toronto in 1921, so in 2021, and in Calgary just last year. And there's two for men, there's 600 for women, and the two for men has no government support. So just to tell you, that's where we are in terms of support for men's mental health. I'm optimistic, as I said, that it is slowly getting better. I think we got some years to go. Both provincial and federal governments um, do not have a strategy for men's mental health, and we need one. CCMF, in fact, just created a members of parliament caucus on men's mental health, and we are working with parliamentarians trying to raise awareness. And I'm hopeful that may take some increase the awareness and highlight the need for men's mental health. Ultimately, what we need is a a national strategy for men and boys, some sort of a commission to look into what are the issues men face, how does it impact the community, what we need to do to increase resources to increase men's mental health and help men to in terms of help seeking. So basically, encouraging men to come forward as well. It can be done. I understand in Virginia in the US, I just learned they have a commission on men and boys, and we need something similar in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I am speaking to Bijan Rafii, Executive Director of the Canadian Centre for Men and Families in York Region. You are currently chairing a campaign for equal shared co-parenting to reform the Canadian Divorce Act. For listeners who may not know, what exactly is meant by equal shared parenting, and why is this reform to the Canadian Act so important right now?
Okay, so it is so the name of the campaign is the best in the best interest of the child, the Canadian campaign for equal shared co-parenting. as well as doing what I do with CCMF. I'm a child and family advocate, and I chair this campaign along, and I work with a number of other champions in Canada to bring equal share co-parenting to Canada. What equal share co-parenting means is that after divorce, parents equally share time and decision making with each other in the best interest of the children. Children need both parents to be successful. And I've already mentioned the reasons, but I'm going to just repeat so we just highlight this. Children who do not have both parents, they're in a single parent home, and that usually means no dad. They have a higher rate of suicide, homelessness, running away from home, committing a crime and incarceration, committing rape, substance abuse. It doubles the risk of dropping out of school and teen pregnancy. And as I mentioned, it actually you could detect it at the cellular level. So the impact is huge when the child loses a parent, usually the father, not always, usually the father. And there is 70 to 80% of children after the family divorces do not have uh, basically equal amount of time with their non-residential parent, usually means the father. There was a Statistics Canada data that came after a few years. 40% of children after divorce have almost no contact with the father. So the impact on children is enormous, and as a consequence, impact on the community is enormous. We need both parents for the children to be successful. And there are many progressive jurisdictions, including Scandinavia, including many European countries, including many states in the US, Brazil, that they do have equal share co-parenting, and the data is coming out of there has been very, very encouraging. So the model we are proposing is the parents go in as a default with a presumption of equal share co-parenting. So that means 40%, at least 40% for each parent contact, time and decision making. And then and there are situations where it is not in the best interest of children to be with one parent, then that presumption is rebutted. And this is why it's called the rebuttable presumption of equal share co-parenting. And that is the gold standard in international share parenting legislation. Now, to understand what Canadians want, we have done a poll in 2022 that found 77% of Canadians across all regions and both genders support equal share co-parenting legislation. And in fact, they were 6 times more likely to vote for a member of the parliament if they would 6 times more likely to vote for a member of parliament if they were supporting equal share parenting legislation. So Canadians want this. Also, there has been a number of studies that came out of jurisdictions that they have equal share co-parenting and have found that that it reduces the incidence of intimate partner violence, as well as much better outcomes for teenagers. And of course, mothers who are in an equal share co-parenting, and that's from a survey that came out that they're reporting much better well-being and higher income. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Hmm. What are the biggest challenges or barriers to seeing this reform become a reality?
Um, a lack of awareness
Hmm.
and outdated narratives.
Hmm.
So the narrative right now is and still in 21st century we are, we are the first quarter of 21st century is ending, and we still have this narrative
Hmm.
that children need to be with their mothers. It's more important for children to be with the mothers than the fathers, and
Hmm.
we know from social studies that's not true. You need both parents. And there is now many studies have been done that say that how much better children are when they are in an equal share co-parenting arrangement. There is that narrative. There is some sectors are against equal share parenting, equal share co-parenting, because they say, oh well, if the person is have equal share parenting, that could be a way for the partner abuse the mother, and there is no academic support for this, and in fact uh, equal share parenting reduces levels of intimate partner violence. And basically, when you have a very unfair situation, that raises conflict,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So right now, when people go through divorce there are many that are amicable, but there's many who are high conflict. Basically, parents are told to go into this gladiator ring and fight the custody, and it has an enormous amount of pressure on the parents. It's enormous amount of cost. This is the cost that then cannot be used as a resource for the children. And by having equal parenting and having a safe mechanism where it is not uh, it's not a good idea to have it. We reduce that conflict, and we make sure that children have not just the support from both parents, but also support from the extended family of both sides. Because usually, if a child loses a dad, that means the grandparents on that side, they're not seeing the kids. Their aunts and uncles and cousins, they're not seeing that kids. So they lose that support from that side.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely valuable to have equal parenting, and from the social studies and experience from other jurisdictions shown it is great.
If parents or listeners want to support or learn more about this movement, where can they start?
Okay, so our website is called childsbestinterest.org. Absolutely, you can go there, and we have um, so childsbestinterest.ca. They can go there. We have a petition that we have initiated back in July. It has about 1,400 signatures to initiate this. Is going to be read by MP Brock in November, and that will basically create awareness. We need much more signatures than that.
Hmm.
We also have been very fortunate that getting support from other many agencies. Board of directors have been supporting us. We have a draft of a draft of the proposed amendment that we have that is passed through and being endorsed by a number of scholars and CEOs and executive directors of agencies who looked at it and legal experts. We have all that. What we need now is to have more Canadians jumping in. They can reach out to me if they want to help. That was going to make a big difference, and I will share my email with you that you can pass it on. We have the way we do it is by having champions to reach out to members of parliament. We'll help them along the way. We meet the MPs and educate them on this important thing. And we have now met with about 30-40 members of parliament, and that's how we gathering momentum. So I would say reach out to me, number one, and I'm gonna talk to you how you can help, and you can sign the petition that I'm going to be sharing with you on your social media, and the more signatures we have, the more important, and the more support we have, the more likely we can build this momentum.
Mm-hmm. Bijan Rafii, Executive Director of the Canadian Centre for Men and Families in York Region, thank you so much for being on the Wellbeing Podcast. I'm definitely looking forward to having you back. And again, thank you so much for all that you're doing. And I will make sure that on my social media feeds, as well as the website, the WhatsApp channel, that we put up all the information there so listeners can connect and support the great work that you're doing at CCMF.
That's great, Ceejay, and thanks again for having me and your support in as well and raising awareness for this important matter.
Yeah, thanks again, Bijan.
Okay, take care.
You are listening to Wellbeing with Ceejay Horrell. Straight ahead, final thoughts.
For the men carrying silent battles, this is for you. If you've lost your sense of direction, purpose, or peace, I see you. I also coach men to reclaim their identity, heal from what they don't talk about, and rise again with strength and clarity. Book a free clarity session today, and until next time, remember, if anything we've shared in today's episode speaks to you, if you've been carrying pain, waiting for permission to heal, or searching for a safe space to be real, this is your invitation. Grow with me, heal with me, don't just listen, lean in. Join the Wellbeing family, a space where we don't have to pretend we're fine and we don't have to heal alone. Every like, comment, and share helps this message find someone who might need it. When you engage, you're not just supporting the podcast, you're becoming a part of the healing. So don't just stay on the sidelines. Subscribe, leave a review, share your story. Let's make well-being more than a conversation. Let's make it a movement. There's space for you here, and I'm better with you.